I want to be clear with you all that a new day has come. To San Francisco, to Oakland, to Baltimore, to Ferguson, to Atlanta, there is a movement sweeping this country, and we are not going to stop until you stop killing us.
Shut it down! Shut it down!
At Brooks, last week, the Oakland City Council passed a draconian law attacking the city's unhoused population. The policy, led by rookie city council member Ken Huchuin, alters Oakland's homeless abatement policy, making targeting and sweeps easier, legal, and the rule of law. Joining us to discuss is Tiny Gray Garcia, co-founder of Poor Magazine, as well as the Homefulness Project, a landless people self-determined land liberation movement in the Ohlone, Lisjan, Huchuin territory known as Deep East Oakland. Good morning, Tiny.
Hey, what's up? What's up? Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining. Tiny, prior to last week, what was the city's? I mean, the city has always sucked around the homeless. Like, I don't want to pretend that like we're going from this amazing policy that cared for our folks to this horrific policy that cared for folks. Really, we're going from bad to worse. But what was the bad policy prior to last week, that governed, in theory, the way the city was supposed to address our unhoused relatives?
Well, first of all, thank you to the first peoples of the land that we're speaking on and who suffered that first form of genocide. The reason, and thank you to you, Kat, and to all of our ancestors for allowing us to be here. The encampment abatement policy was already argued. And as Elder James Vaughn said in the very beginning, who's fought for, the rights of poor houseless tenants for years, way before I was around, this is an illegal hearing. And so I do want to lift that up because to several months ago, there was this same proposal was submitted. There was a huge outpouring of community, of housed community and houseless community, who stood up and said, no, no, you aren't going to institute yet another policy on the books that makes it illegal to be houseless, that it makes it illegal to be poor while a resident of Oakland. And so let me back up to say that we already had an encampment management policy that was instituted in 2020 that to me personally showed a lot of who the real politricksters were in town, because even people I thought were down voted for it. And basically it already cordoned off certain areas of where houseless people could be. It further criminalized, let's not get it twisted to any listeners or viewers, there are multiple, up to in the hundreds of laws, or I call them lies, settler lies on the settler colonial books that's of Oakland, Huchuin, that say it's illegal to be houseless while living in Oakland and Frisco and LA and all across occupied Turtle Island. So there's nothing new under the settler sun. But this one in 2020 just made it more deep, made it more impossible to live while houseless. Then we had Grants Pass. I'm sure a lot of people have heard about that, but maybe not everybody. Grants Pass versus Johnson. Really evil, a law that was put into place all across United Snakes that essentially said that we no longer, as houseless people, are protected under the Eighth Amendment, which means actually effectively that we're no longer human, which we've thought for a long time. If you're poor, if you're houseless, if you're black and brown and poor and disabled and houseless on these streets, you're next to might as well be a paper cup that's thrown in the trash. Again, that's nothing new. So it got worse. The gloves came off of all of these towns and cities across United Snakes, and they basically were just sweeping people and throwing people's stuff away like 4 to 5 to 6 to 8 to 9 times a day, accompanied by several $1,000 worth of armed military agents of the state, AKA sheriffs, police, the community police, and the DPW, and whatever other agency they could bring out there. Literally spending up to $1 million an hour, and I'm not even exaggerating, to wipe out communities. And I say community, I don't use the word encampment. That's a military industrial complex word. These were communities, MLK and West Grand, East 12th Street, Lake Merritt, Mosswood Park. I could go on and on. There were communities of elders, of disabled elders, mostly a majority Black, and they're your grandmamas, your aunties, your uncles, your tias, your tios. That's who's on the street, the majority in Huchuin and Frisco and all these places. And so that was the next thing. Then we had the Ken Houston policy number one, 1.0, which again, I'm vexed. I'm honestly confused, Kat, as I say, because in his proposal, he was essentially undergirding this grant pass move that was already there, right? And the one that was put in 2020. It was massive amounts of violent attacks, and I do call it genocide on our houseless bodies because it was a targeted move to erase houseless people from all of these settler towns. So we already had that and was going full speed ahead, and really nothing was stopping it. So he wanted to further implement more carceral systems. Okay, that was the one several months ago, right? It was shut down by community. You were there. Everybody spoke up. You kicked ass. Everybody spoke up and said the truth. Thank you, right? It went away, but it didn't. Because as I often say, politics ain't nothing but a trick. You already know how I get down, but it just came back. It came back and had a special city council hearing. Uh, last Friday and or Thursday? Now it's all a blur. They did it at 9:30 in the morning. Working people couldn't show up. I don't know why it was at 9:30 in the morning, but a lot of people were not able to be there. The entire
Oh, I do.
liberation.
I know why. And we don't have a
Okay.
lot of time because I've got to let the Black Earth Day people come on before I go. I do. They did
Thank
that
you.
on purpose. That has been the Ken Houston,
Thank you.
Kevin Jenkins, Janani Ramachandran. I know
Okay.
she found herself absent. Listen, she was in support of this policy. They have changed the meeting. Listen, this has me so high, and I'm not. I don't know, Tanya, if you heard me at the last time I was in City Council. I told them that this was the last time I was going to be in City Council. I'm not talking to those people anymore because I am
Mm.
talking to a wall and they don't care. And Zach Unger actually told a group of people that went to do a lobby visit. He told them that we do not care about your public comment. So I know me. And I know how well I do in those environments. So let me stop because I need to let you finish because I got to let this Janae person come in. But I need the people
Problem.
to know they literally passed a resolution to move the meetings to times where you cannot go. They
What?
on purpose. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh yeah.
Well, you
Yeah.
you know, as I said, me and politics, no. Self-determination forever, especially for us marginalized folks. I'm sorry, but that doesn't surprise me. And of course, it made sense. And there we were, a ragtag group of folks speaking up. All of the houseless warriors, Wood Street was in the house, Poor Magazine was in the house, Love and Justice, all the people who could make it there, and there weren't many of us. Our entire school, who I do want to lift up, Decolonize Academy, right? Because why? Our young people, in collaboration with us houseless mamas, wrote a legislation, not a legislation, as I call most of these, a legislation to put a moratorium on sweeps. Even the babies knew that this violence against our bodies as people who are on the street needs to stop. They wouldn't listen to it. The only person that met with us was Noel Gallo and that turncoat politrickster Zach Unger. And I don't have no love, for Noel, whatever. He's a police lover, but I will appreciate him for being the only one who voted against
The
this
only no
mess.
vote, right?
Yep, he's the only one who expect. Maybe because he saw our kids. I don't know. I like to dream. But that said, all of our babies came and spoke up, and they passed it anyway. They passed it anyway. And so, what does this do? So the first one 8 months ago said it was actually illegal to be houseless while in Oakland, like actually wrote that in the law. Um, they took that one line out. That was pretty much the only thing they took out. And everything else around it says it's illegal to be houseless while in Oakland. So let's not get it twisted. Our belongings and our lives are intentionally criminalized. I need to bring up in this circle with you that at the same time, and I'm sure you've already seen this, they have closed so many. of our places and spaces where we can be. They have shut down these so-called politics or solutions created by these big non-profiteers. So we have nowhere to go. They have placed a few of them, and really hardly anybody got housing. They closed the safe parking lots. This is all in Huchuin. On the other side of the bay, 1,200 emergency shelter beds closed in 1 week. This is all just in the last 2 weeks. And Bax, which is one of those big nonprofits who's gotten millions from the city and from the county and from the feds, is now officially closing. Where are we supposed to go, Kat? This is the plan. They have maybe there's a plantation prison that they have nice beds waiting for us in a private plantation prison. I wouldn't be surprised. The other option, because the new HUD thing just came out, hot off the press, to give you that little tip. It's also the policy of, quote, just let them die. So that's where we are right now in occupied Turtle Island, in a moment of so much hate for our houseless bodies that it is actually terrifying. And I lift up our babies and our bodies and our families in Palestine. I lift up our babies and our bodies and our relatives in the Congo, in Haiti, in, Sudan and Kashmir and West Papua, and right here down the street, trying to hide behind a doorway or in a bus shelter.
Those really painful words, Tony. I have to get the next folks on because now they only have about 4 minutes, but this
Good.
is too important to not.
I
Keep it
appreciate
posted.
you.
Y'all can follow what's your Instagram title real fast, Tony?
We're at Poor Magazine. We are going to be doing an action against these closures. All one word, Poor Magazine, at Poverty Scholar on Blue Sky, on Insta, on Facecrack, all of those spaces and places. Homefulness, the world, homefulness. Oh, Mateo.
I'm gonna tell Tony. You've been listening to Law and Disorder, a podcast where we expose the cracks in our system, agitate for resistance, and collectively build a new world in which all of us can thrive. Take care of yourself and take care of each other. We all we got, fam.